afternoon to you, our viewer, wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to Women at the Frontlines, the program that we have here showcasing women's contribution in governance in Uganda and across the region of the Great Lakes. Our focus in this program is to showcase women's contribution in governance, wherever they are, in whichever sector that they are contributing to, that they are leading in, and particularly bring out highly effective women to share their stories and what they've been able to contribute to in the space that they are in, and hoping that that can inspire another woman, another man, another person in their leadership journey wherever they are. My name is Monicah Amoding, the host of this program, and I'm so delighted I have an exciting panel this afternoon, and we are going to be discussing an interesting topic, and that is the disability movement in Uganda, in Africa, in East Africa. We will stretch it as much as we can to be able to internalize this issue and also to impact more in the discussion that we shall have. So I'd like to welcome you, and as we do this, I would like to ask you to follow us on this program. We are here on Civic Space TV every Saturday, 2 to 3 p.m. And in this program, we'd like you to follow us, share our stories with any other person that you'd like to be inspired in this discussion, because it's a conversation, a chat. People pick one or two issues and they follow through with that. So I'd like to welcome you. Thank you so much for giving us your time this afternoon, and do this every other Saturday, 2 to 3. Follow us, like us, share our page, share our story on this space. Today, we have a very exciting team, women from the disability movement in Uganda. And I can tell you this is a high power level, high power team, a high power team from the women's movement of disability. And we shall be discussing issues of disability generally using Honourable Nalule Safia Juuko's story. You can imagine that is the woman we have here today. And the two other ladies are very powerful women from the women's movement of disability. And we shall be delving into different issues in the women's movement, but particularly in the disability movement in Uganda. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Monicah.
I would like to start my introduction from the extreme end, the other side. We have Victo Nalule. She is also a namesake of Honourable Nalule here. I believe also a mentee. Nalule there, Victor, is a Mandela Young Leaders Fellow. She's a very influential women leader in the disability movement in Uganda, not just in Uganda, East Africa and globally. She's done a lot under the Tunaweza Foundation, which she is running, and I know she is an inspiration. She inspires many other young women, beating the odds to be where she is, leading, transforming, and doing so many things in the disability movement in Uganda, but also globally. I'd like her to say hello. Maybe there's something I've left out, but I know she's going to be talking about herself briefly for the viewers to know more about her works and other things that she does. Today we decided to focus on issues of disability. So who else would be better than yourself to be here?
Thank you. Thank
Delighted
you,
to
Monicah.
receive you today. I have Doreen next to me here. Doreen Nawejje Mayanja.
Yes,
Yes, that is the right name.
indeed.
And she's coming from Women and Children with Albinism in Uganda here, WACAU. WACAU.
Yes.
That's a big area of concern right now in the disability movement. It's an issue that we have not addressed very well in
Yes.
Uganda and
Just
across
coming
the
up
East
on board,
African,
yeah.
even the Great Lakes region. It's a big issue.
It's a
I think
big
bigger
issue.
in other countries than even Uganda. Yes,
Yeah.
and I think you'll tell us that more in other East African countries. So I would
Thank
like to
you,
welcome her to
Monicah.
the set, and to our company, Honourable Nalule. They are here to dissect the issue of disability. And of course, we have Hajat Safia Nalule Juuko, who has been in Parliament for quite some time, 3 terms, In that space as a member of parliament, she's done a lot. And there are two things that I would like you to remember about Hajat Safia Nalule, who I had the privilege to work with in parliament. And now she is the chairperson of the Equal Opportunities Commission in Uganda. That's a big one. And her journey is a very big and inspiring story. Hajat Nalule used to be an advocate of disability before she joined parliament. She was an activist. She has always been an activist of disability in Uganda. And I know there are two things that you can remember her about: activism for disability, but also gender issues. And when she was elected as a national PWD representative in parliament, she contributed largely on those two areas. She championed bills on the floor of parliament on gender, on disability, Children's Act. You even moved a bill on albinism recently. It is somewhere. You will tell us where it has gone. What I do know about Hajat Nalule is, because I've worked very closely with her and we share a lot, she is a critical thinker. When she goes to a space, she doesn't just use that space. She occupies it and brings about change and transformation. A lot of times when we're in parliament, she will sit back while others are, you know, making this noise here and there. For her, she will sit back and think and say, what can I do in this circumstance? Because of that brain, she was able to bring to us as women parliamentarians a very important bill, an issue we now refer to, what we use in gender budgeting, called the Gender and Equity certificate. Yes, that was a unique proposal that she came up with. We supported her greatly. The speaker supported her. And then we were able to amend the Public Finance and Management Act 2016 and bring about what we call gender budgeting, gender and equity budgeting now, which is a critical thing in our budgeting in Uganda. She's going to tell us more about that. That's why I thought she's a very important guest, and that we can record her story, showcase to the world. People need to know what we are doing, ladies. People need to know we do a lot, and no one knows what we do. And no one will know Hajat was behind that particular clause of the law, in particular in parliament. And today, some of them will get to know more that we have done. Would like to start from you, because you are our special guest today. So we'll discuss your story, and then we discuss issues of disability in Uganda, in the Great Lakes region, East Africa generally. So it's big. These issues are big. Yeah, so Honorable Safia, it's about you. Some people may not know. Today, those who are watching us are like, now, who is Honorable Hajat Safia, who, that Monicah is very excited about? Yeah, just to start from there.
Okay, there's something I've liked from this program. Monicah, thank you very much, and the crew. You have said something which is very important, that we do a lot.
A lot.
And it goes unrecorded.
That is the purpose of this show, to showcase our contribution, the various things we do as women leaders. That's why we are honored to have you.
Yes, thank you, Monicah, for hosting us. And my mentees, my name is Hajat Safia Nalule Juuko. I've been the National Member of Parliament, representing persons with disabilities for 15 years consecutive. And to that one, I give gratitude to the person with disabilities who actually saw the value in me. And then they elected me consecutively for 3 terms.
That's 15 years.
Yeah, that is 15 years. But then, Monicah, you wanted to know me, you know, where I come from, where I got all the energy for the activism. Yes,
and what inspired you? How did your journey start?
You know, I'm a woman with a physical disability, and I acquired this physical disability when I was a toddler. I'm told by my mother that I was injected in my leg, left leg, and that's when the disability started. So all through my life up to now, I've lived with a disability. But I would like to say these things, that for a person with a disability, you know the definition of disability, that it is the functional limitation which in combination with the environment the barriers in the environment, actually it makes you a person with disability.
Yeah.
At the global level, they don't have a definite definition of disability, but they say it is an evolving concept. Because they think that, you know, when the barriers are done away with, the disability can also disappear. But in Uganda, we have come up with a law, the amended Person with Disabilities Act
2016. 21?
20,
They've amended
it was
recently.
2019.
2019.
Yeah. At least we have tried to come up with a specific definition of disability, and then we also went ahead to enlist those people who can be defined as person with disabilities. You know, the definition moved from the social, the medical model, and then the welfare system. And now we are looking at person with disabilities as human beings, you know, like human diversity. It is a diversity. So I was telling you that I acquired the disability when I was a toddler, and then I started working on crutches. So that time when I got the disability, we had to go to Mulago orthopedic clinic. That's where we were being actually helped to do the physiotherapy exercises and so on. So it had to be a regular thing. And for me, actually, the routine I had to go for was I had to go every first month of the month. I had to be taken to Mulago Hospital. But when, you know, my father was a businessman, and one of his businesses was transport. So every first month of the month, he could give me and my mother and the driver a car, and then it doesn't work that day. And then it takes me to Mulago Hospital. But when I used to go to Mulago Hospital, there was a hostel for those children whose parents could not actually afford to commute, you know, regularly. So one day I found those children, disabled children, in the ground or whatever of the clinic playing. Then I was asking my mother. I asked my mother that, where are the parents of these children? Then he said, you know, their parents, why are they not attended to? Then she told me that, you know, the parents of those children are not, they are poor. They cannot afford commuting like we bring you every Monday. So to me, actually, I didn't take it light at that age. I didn't take it light. I thought that because my father was, this was a commercial vehicle he was giving me. It was not a private vehicle. So I said that why should my father forego the money for the day, and then they bring me, and then they wait for me and take me back, and then the other parents cannot actually even be there for their children. Then my heart was hurt. But you know what healed me was that when I grow up, I will advocate for the rights of disabled people.
Oh, so you knew you had a challenge at that time. That's why perhaps
I felt that disabled children are not loved. So it was a few of us who are privileged to have parents who can actually
do that.
be loving.
So the other children were actually disabled as
They were
well.
children, they were disabled, and they had to attend.
But they did not have parents attending to them.
They were left there to stay in the hostel.
Yeah.
Actually, they were left in the hands of the doctors. Yeah, but they were not attended to. But for me, actually, I was brought that day and then taken back. Actually, it took me, I started using public transport when I think I was 20 years, when I was at university. So my father was always there for me. There was always a vehicle for me.
Wow.
So what I can say, I pay tribute to my father and my mother, because generally in the homes of person with disability, they are not loved.
They are not loved.
And you know, if you have done some reading, disability is associated with poverty. Disability is associated with lack of education. Disability is associated with ill health. So basically,
children are usually locked away.
They are locked away,
hidden away,
and they come.
not taken care of.
They come from very poor families. Majority of disabled people come from the poor families. So sometimes maybe they cannot afford. But for me, I took it like they are not loved.
Wow.
So now, for me, I was taken to very good schools, right from primary. Yeah, my father was so careful, and he was he knew very early in life that the only thing which will liberate me was education.
Yes.
Wow.
So he took me to very good schools. I was in primary, I got a first grade. Then secondary, I was at Trinity College in Abingo for the 6 years. Then I went to Makerere University for my first degree.
Wow.
But now, as I speak, I have a bachelor degree in science. I did chemistry, zoology, and mathematics.
No wonder.
And
Wow.
and then I have a first class diploma in law,
Wow.
and I have a master's now in human rights.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that is me. But I've actually spent most of my knowledge working for persons with disabilities. So after university, I started doing actually volunteering, working for persons with disabilities without pay. I don't know whether at this
So that's
time
how your advocacy started.
Yeah,
You
that's
started
how-
from university right
yeah,
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because one day I was teaching at Makai College in Natete, but then I was picked because there was an organization called Action on Disability and Involvement. They were looking for a woman with a disability, but with a degree. So they picked me up. And then one day the manager took me to a general assembly of National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda.
Wow.
But you cannot imagine the kind of happiness I had in my heart that day. So when I went back, I was asking myself, why am I so happy today? The heart was telling me that you have met a group of people where you belong.
Wow.
I had never seen, so
a group of disabled people. You didn't know there were so many.
And when people talk about disability, they think that it is a homogeneous group. No, it's not. There's such a diverse,
It is
heterogeneous.
diverse.
Yeah, we have the physically disabled, the blind, the deaf, and so on and so forth. Those
Wow.
with the hearing impairment, now the Doreen is with albinism.
Albinism.
Yeah, so I was so happy. I said now, I felt that maybe I was suffering alone. But now there are other disabled. So it gave me a lot of energy.
Wow.
So beyond working as involvement, work with Action on Disability and Involvement, then I was elected. I was elected to represent women with disabilities in the board of National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda.
No deep.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but there came a time, I think it was around 1995, when women were convening for these decade meetings. That one was the Beijing conference in 1995. So they went. I tried also to go, but I didn't make it. But then I saw a need. I was wondering, now this international conference which happened every 5 years or 10 years?
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years. Every 10 years, it's a decade.
Oh, a decade.
Every 10 years.
Yeah.
So are women disabilities considered? Because for me, even if I look at an environment, whatever, I think about disability. So I was asking myself, are women disabilities part of this Beijing conference? Then I started reading literature. These conferences, they started in Copenhagen. Then the next one in Nairobi. Then the third one was in Beijing. But I didn't see women with disabilities participating.
Wow.
But for the Beijing one, they did. Very few of them went. But I said that now, I think we need an organization where we could organize ourselves and then we keep
making our contribution,
reminding the women's movement
Yeah.
that even the women with disabilities have a voice. So I spearheaded the formation of an organization of disabled women called the Disabled Women's Network and Resource Organization in Uganda. Why we named it so? There was a lot of lack of literature, information about disabled people and even women and girls with disabilities. So we're doing a lot of research. Yeah, we are the first ones to do a research on the education status of children with disabilities. We're the first ones to do a research on the facts and figures on the HIV and AIDS amongst persons with disabilities. And so then the sexual and reproductive health rights and needs of women and girls with disabilities were the first ones. So, after, I did that with the formation of the Organization of Women with Disabilities. But then there came a time when Uganda was undergoing a process to formulate the constitution. That's the 1995 constitution.
Yes.
So that one came, I think we had the Constituent Assembly first.
Yes.
And we had one delegate as persons with disabilities. So I was very instrumental to advocate for the 5 seats of person with disabilities representing us in Parliament. Our delegate came with only 3 seats. Then, you know, as short and young as I was from university, I told them that the 3 seats are not enough. Because if you consider the 4 regions of Uganda, 1 region will be missing. And then I also told them on top of that, that the women were so weak that time that they could not actually fight with men to be among the 4. So I proposed that let us have a specific seat for women.
I told you, Honorable, is a critical thinker.
So
always finding solutions for problems. Yes.
So now they told me that now, Safia, you have said like that. Now you go to the different caucuses in the CA. So I used to go to the caucus of women, the caucus of the youth, and so on. And I lobbied, and that's how we got the 5 slots.
Wow.
So we got the 5 slots. And then when I went there, I think there was also a time when the government was working on the Local Governments Act. Even in the Local Governments Act, they had given disabled people 1 representative in the local government. I said, you know, all this 111 will be taken by men. Then I said there must be 2 to balance the gender.
At least for starting.
And that one also we succeeded.
So we have 2 at the local government.
Yeah, we have
the
2 representatives.
1
local
female.
Government Council 3 and Local Government Council 5.
Yeah.
1 female, 1 male.
Wow.
That was a very big achievement.
That was a very big
achievement.
Because
now that brought massive representation of persons with disabilities at local government and in Parliament. And I can tell you that Uganda, we had all this because of the backing of the government, because when this government, the NRM government, was coming into power, they came with the 10-point program. And the 10-point program, I think His Excellency, the President Museveni, was so visionary that they provided for affirmative action at that time. In Uganda, he normally refers it to okubegerako. Putting aside something for the weak ones.
For the weak ones.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very powerful.
Yeah. So I built on that, and then that's why I lobbied. You know, I'm always lobbying for affirmative action because, you know, sometimes, many times, persons with disabilities may not manage the open race.
Yeah, certainly.
So, and it is only when you are at the decision-making table that you can influence things.
Absolutely.
So that's why Honourable Monicah was telling you that in Parliament, if I was not called special needs education, because I fought for a budget vote for special needs education, that is education of children with disabilities, to have a vote in the Ministry of Education, then I was called Certificate of Gender and Equity Compliance. You know, when having fought for that representation, I was among the first disabled persons to run to be elected as councillors representing persons with disabilities. And I was the female councillor for Kampala City Council.
Wow. So when that one is little known. Yeah. So you first served as a councillor.
Yes, I served as a councillor. That's why I got that passion. Because, you know, at City Council, I could ask them, where is the budget for education of children with disabilities? They told me, you go to social services. Where is the education for the reproductive health needs of women with disabilities? Go to social services. Where are the budget for accessible roads, sign language? Go to social. I said, hey, what is this? Eh? If I'm a person with disability and my need is education, the needs should be budgeted for under education, not social services.
Wow. Wow.
Then I was asking, why is this happening?
Wow.
And actually it told me why the country itself had a political will to support persons with disabilities and other marginalized groups, but almost nothing was happening. That's why when I actually succeeded to go to Parliament, you know, Parliament has got 3 cardinal roles. That is legislation,
yes,
budget appropriation,
and oversight.
So I decided that I know, having that background of a daughter of a businessman, I know very well that even if you like something for years and years, if you don't have money, if you don't have a budget for it, you'll never get it. So I said, let me now start struggling for a budget to implement the needs of persons with disabilities and other marginalized groups. I went with an agenda.
Wow.
I went to Parliament with an agenda.
Yes, yes,
and I
yes.
succeeded achieving
So it's
that
not about
agenda.
just going to occupy a space,
No.
but to bring about a certain
Exactly.
change. Yes.
That's why I always say that it's not only enough to create affirmative action seats, but those affirmative action seats must be filled
Impactful.
by persons who have the passion, who have the knowledge,
Yes.
who have the commitment, hard work,
Zeal.
and they make actually a difference
turn things
in the
round.
lives of the ones they represent.
Absolutely.
So I started, in Parliament, you have to find your way. I started, looking which bill will I, amend. Should I go for amendment of the rules of procedure? Should I do for what? Because, I was made the vice chairperson of the Equal Opportunities Committee in Parliament at a very early stage. And then I looked at the mandate of the committee, and it was very wide. Because it was saying that every work of Parliament must observe the principles of equality, non-discrimination, equalization of opportunities. And then I said, something so wide. How can we achieve it as a committee? Then one day, even people were not seeing the importance of the Equal Opportunities Committee. They were actually thinking about doing away with the Equal Opportunities
I remember
Committee.
the discussion came.
So as I was crossing from South Wing of Parliament, going to North Wing, there's a bridge. I stood there and I started thinking, how can I actually overcome this challenge? Because the committee dying in my hands, it was a very big challenge. Moreover, I'm a person with a disability who needs these issues of non-discrimination and so on. I scratched my head. And then I said, now, let me remember. In Parliament, when we are going to pass a bill into law, we require a certificate of financial implications. Then I said, why don't I also come up with an idea that whatever work Parliament does, whether legislation, whether passing a budget,
whether budgeting,
we must demand for a certificate of equity. So I went and shared with the speaker then, the Right Honourable Rebecca Kadaga. And then she asked me, how come that you have a similar thinking like mine?
Wow.
Yeah, because for her, she was thinking about a certificate of gender compliance. So we added our two heads together.
Gender and
equity. Then we came up with the certificate of gender and equity compliance. Now, this one was provided before we fought hard and we got it into the Public Finance Management Act of 2015. Some people may not, I think we should come back to this civic space to educate people
about that particular issue.
This one, because it was the first innovation of its kind in the whole world.
In the whole world.
And it was innovated by a woman with a disability.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Monica, what pains me, people don't like to talk about it. They say it is a detail. They wouldn't even like, as much as they see it very important, because it opened the eyes of all actors that issues of marginalized people are not only to the Ministry of Gender and Social Development, but they cut across.
You remember the discussion of mainstreaming issues of disability, gender, and everything.
But as much as it's a very great innovation, people wouldn't like to say it was Safia who innovated this idea.
That is why I said today I must host Safia here, because this particular component, for us who've been advocating for issues of women disability, we know how difficult it is to break through in these issues. And when something like this comes up, in Parliament we know that a budget cannot be passed without having been cleared. Any ministry, any MDA cannot come with its budget without even the ministerial policy statement, without going through
Actually, the law says that Parliament will not pass the national budget
without a certificate of gender
and equity compliance. Sometimes I used to sit in the corner and then I used to laugh that the person who brought this
we had a stallment in 2020, you remember? The budget was stalled for two weeks without passing.
Without passing.
So, Honourable Safia, you have come at a very you know, you're not just a high achiever, you're not just an ordinary woman leader in the women's movement, but a high achiever who has perhaps, by the time you reached here, you've beaten so many odds. And I know my colleagues here are listening, but you'll come in later. I would like you to just tell us some of the things that you have jumped over. We have seen you come, your advocacy right from university, you worked outside there, you are advocating for these issues, you became a leader at council, became a parliamentarian. You are still talking about these issues. By the time you reach this level, you are now actually the chairperson of the Gender and Equity Commission. Equal Opportunities Commission. What you created in Parliament is what you are doing right now. So you are a highly impactful leader in the space that you are in. I'm sure that to reach there, with that disability you have, you've overcome so many stereotypes. You've overcome so many barriers. Share with us some of those.
Anyway, let me first take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, because Monica, you know, when we didn't make it back to Parliament, I was the very first person who was appointed to be appointed in this country.
Yes.
I was the first person to be appointed, and I didn't miss a month without working. And without
from the other Parliament salary, you
yes.
went to another.
Yeah, but before I go to the obstacles, I would like to stress the need for the certificate of gender and equity compliance. Many countries all over the world are actually, you know,
speak to these ones in East Africa and the Great Lakes. We
the
are very close. Do they have something similar like that?
Yeah, you know, the Great Lakes region and beyond. You know, so many countries, I appreciate them and I thank them. They have come up with affirmative action provisions, but implementation is still lacking. But the only solution to implementation is gender and equity budget, the certificate of gender and equity compliance. And actually, if they can come to the Equal Opportunities Commission, they can come and benchmark from us. You know, they will find a solution.
Yes.
Because, like, you know, even at global level, the Sustainable Development Goals talks about leaving no one behind.
Leaving no one behind.
It's only when the national governments all over the world take this idea of the certificate of gender and equity compliance that they will leave no one behind.
I would like you to speak a little bit about that issue in the Great Lakes region. It seems like Uganda is a leader in these gender issues also. I don't know about disability, how we have progressed comparable to our you know, our colleagues, because this is a region we are trying to hover over and see if we can, you know, deal with these issues in a similar manner. Yes, East Africa here, Tanzania, how are we doing? How are we doing in Rwanda? In the Great Lakes in terms of disability.
You remember, Monica, you gave me another question, but I think that one, so many, Uganda has actually made so many strides as far as making progressive laws are concerned. So the countries around us in the Great Lakes region, they come and they come and benchmark from us. They come and benchmark from us. Like the representation of persons with disabilities, they come, I think in East Africa, Tanzania has, except that they are not elected, they are nominated by their parties. The same happens with Kenya, but we have got representatives in South Africa, and you know most African countries are coming here to learn,
to benchmark.
But then you were asking me
about obstacles.
About obstacles.
Yes.
You know, the barriers are too many.
Too many.
Yeah.
But maybe let me ask the ladies to help us.
Let me first give you a highlight.
Yes.
The obstacles are too many. But I think it all, in order to overcome the obstacles, now I'm speaking to the whole world. In order to overcome obstacles, the parents must be positive about having a child with a disability. Then the community where we live, they must be supportive. The country, the national government must be supportive in terms of making laws, providing budgets, and so on and so forth. The issue of looking at persons with disabilities under the welfare system, I think should be complementary. But persons with disabilities must be empowered to use their remaining abilities to excel.
Do something. Yes. Wow.
And what I would like to say is that education is also key. Exposure is key. Because for me, even when I got my first employment, one man was asking me, Safia, where did you get the confidence from? Because Monicah, for me, I'm very confident.
I know.
And the reason why I'm confident,
You can tell.
the reason why I'm confident, you know, my father, actually, when I was growing,
parental influence.
parental,
Yes.
you know, I would be one of the best performers at school.
Ah, so
You
you were
know?
like a queen.
So when I was looking at the others, you know, performing, doing sciences anyway.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I could, you know, at academics, I would beat everybody at home. So that confidence was there. And then the other thing is, you know, a disability, my name Sekia will tell you, a person with disability need not to be poor.
Yeah, it needs a lot of money. That's very important.
Yeah,
it needs money.
You don't need to be poor because even
yeah.
from the crutches you use, they must be of class.
Look at that chair there.
You see?
How expensive it is.
You look at this, the wheelchair. Then the way you dress, you know, it gives you the confidence. Somebody, if you upstairs here, you are knowledgeable and you know you speak with authority, then it gives you the confidence.
As well.
Actually, Doreen is saying it. It gives you, you know, everybody is attracted. Because you know, remember Monicah, when I used to stand in Parliament to speak. You know, everybody will listen because I would start with my statistics.
Yes. Always factual. Numbers. Facts.
I one time, you know, I'm a consultant with the World Water Week in Sweden. One day, you know, I went and then I started, my opening statement was like, I'm speaking on behalf of the 1 billion disabled people in the world.
Wow.
Everybody was like,
wow.
You see, you know, it gives you the confidence.
Yes.
You know, now you come and challenge me that I'm disabled. Now,
what is the difference?
What is the difference?
Yes.
You know, like if people like us, so of course, we have had also the chance to get married and you produce children. So, I have my own house. I have, you know, everything.
Yes.
I almost have everything.
That is the fullest potential now. Yeah.
So I get
when you unleash the fullest potential of a disabled
person,
all the barriers. You break all the barriers. I think that Honourable has done so well. She has captured her entire journey in a few minutes. And her story is so rich, so inspiring. There's a lot that persons with disability can do if they go through the levels that other people go through. They are educated and their fullest potential is unleashed. Look at one of those high achievers now. I mean, and they had to appoint a woman with disability to such a position. Chairperson, Equal Opportunities Commission is no mean joke. And Honourable, I think you're still rising to higher levels. You're not just, that is not the climax of your career. I would like now to pick thoughts from the two guests that we have on the set as well. Vicky, what has struck your mind as Honourable Nalule is discussing her story? Maybe you could just make a comment here and there, particularly around the obstacles. The obstacles that you have had to overcome. Looking at you, you are another high achiever. I think I did not talk about your CV. It is too long for me to summarize. But at her age, there is a lot she has done. She's a young Mandela Leaders Achiever, a yearly alumni, and that is no mean joke for you. And you do a lot. Maybe just to give you the floor to make a contribution as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Before I submit it, I really want to say thank you for this opportunity you've given us. But before that, I want to bring to the point when Honourable was talking about the education. Can you imagine, we didn't know the people who fought for us to go to university.
Yes.
I'm really so much humbled because after our secondary, we are wondering, my sister were telling me, you know what, you're going to do, maybe you go and do a certificate, the money won't be there. But then I was done with my senior 6C. I went back to my primary school. I went to campus for the physically handicapped. So when I was talking to the director, he was telling me there's this opportunity at the university
for a person
of affirmative action.
Wow.
I didn't know, Honourable.
Yes, we did.
That you did that for us.
Yeah, we did.
So I think we are now your
beneficiaries. The impact is there. You can see your output.
Yes. So I'm really so humbled on that. Sometimes when you're down there and you're fighting, you don't know how many people you're going to impact in your life. And I think this is a success from our main speaker. Like, it's a big success. And then coming from ourselves, that saying now the person who was fighting for you she doesn't know me. She didn't know me. I didn't know her. And here I am. And I've really...
Through their various interventions.
Yes, it has really...
And there are many more like you, not just you.
Yeah, not only me, thousands of them. So I think that was one of the striking points when they are coming out. But then talking about the confident part of it, something talking about like being smart is very, very important.
Yes.
Because some people with disability think because I have a disability, that's the end of me. But as you can see, Honourable Nalule, she's very smart. And not smart
very
only...
smart in the mind. Very smart physically, very smart everywhere.
And all that. So I think that is very, very important. Something I've learned from that. But then when it comes to also the obstacles, the women or the girls, or generally the people with disability we really face, the poverty part of it. It really brought it very, very much so. That the poverty, if you're really poor, you won't be able to go to school.
I think that's very important. We have a child in our family who, for some reason, we have actually failed to help. Because he's been disabled all his life, I think his mental capacity is not the average. And so finding a school to take him to has been difficult all that life. And now he has grown older and yet they are there, perhaps very expensive for an ordinary family to afford. I think so, yeah.
There are some schools for people. For example, for me, it's not my story we are talking about, but how did I start going to school? It was a neighboring pastor who told my mom, there's a school for people with disability. I went to school when I was around 6 years, so my parents never thought of a school for people with disability.
It is hard to find.
So many persons, children living with disability, even in this era where we are right now, parents don't know these opportunities because they don't know the information. So the information gap in our community, in our country is still lacking. Honourable was talking about the policies they've made in the past many years, you know, the 15 years she was in the parliament. But you find when it comes to the ground, the implementation is still a problem. Why? So those are some of the things that are the gaps we are still having as persons living with disability, and we need to really thank the government that to come out with this kind of policies in place. And now, as the young leaders who are coming out, we need also to see now on the implementation. As Tunaweza Foundation, that is our intake, our dish, that we are trying to see the inclusiveness of people with disability in all areas of life. And that's where we are coming in, where we, for example, when we talk about the inclusive education in Uganda. What are the schools? Where are the schools? How are these other normal mainstream schools, can they adopt person living with disability?
Mainstream them by providing for their services.
Honourable Nalule was talking about, she went to
Nabingo.
Imagine, one of the best schools. But how many students with disability can afford that or can be accepted in those kind of schools? I went to Mitiana Secondary School, but how many other students with this physical disability can go to?
When we were going to school, we would hardly see any child with disability in the mainstream school.
Yes.
We only meet at university. But I was in Toro Girls, I didn't see any person with disability.
Yeah, but the parents also didn't think about it. But my father was out always to do a search for the best schools.
Okay, please, Victor.
Yes, so you find those are some of the gaps we are still having, and I know we are still working at. I know someone told me that it's a process. Leadership is a process. It's like as you're building as you're constructing, you put a block. Someone else will come and put another block.
Wow.
Honourable Nalule has done a lot. Sometimes when I'm not a politician, but politicians come and criticize the government, they've done nothing. But you don't know how much blocks they've put on the level to where we are right now and where we are going to go to the next
level. No, but people with disability are the biggest supporters of the current government.
Exactly.
That one is a fact because of the interventions that they have got through this current government. Yeah, I think I'm not wrong on that.
No, you are not. But I told you that this government came with affirmative action.
Yes.
So we have benefited. Yeah.
Very good.
And I also like the Kubegerako. Yes, I think that is some part.
Someone said that for you to see the progress of any society is seen from how they respond to the needs of the most marginalized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where are we in Uganda in terms of Kubegerako?
We are moving.
Giving a little to the marginalized. Yeah. We are moving. We are on the right track.
I think we are the right track. As the Honourable was talking about there's a lot of policies. And in the regional, we are the best as the country.
Yeah. Okay.
That is a success.
That's a success.
And as for us who are into the implementation part of it, the advocacy part of it, we have something to start on.
Exactly.
We are not starting at the 0 point. So that gives you an opportunity
to build on.
Yeah, to build on than starting from the zero, the foundation. Thank you, Doreen. So that is a very powerful niche we are having, you know, other implementers, leaders coming on board.
So Honourable Nalule, you can see you've inspired many, but I was still going to ask you that question, that you see you've done so much, but what still gets you moving? Waking out of your bed every morning, you know.
What actually makes me wake up every day and doing so much thinking is the non-implementation we are still facing. And you know, the issues of the marginalized persons lie in the details. Unless somebody takes off time to think about the details. Because like, you know, you build a school and you think that everybody will come to that school. But when you don't think about that, there are those children who will not be able to read and write. Then you will not provide for them. I just give you an example. For whatever, for a long time, we have been advocating for teachers who can teach blind students and the scholastic materials which can actually respond to the needs of different disabilities. It is not until, you know, recently when Minister of Education put computers, machines which can transcribe print material into Braille in Iganga SS, that we saw 3 students taking HLD history, literature and divinity. One of them got all the 20 points, the other one 15, the other one 10. So it is an indicator that if the requirements, if they are put in the schools, even the students with disabilities, so that makes me wake up every day. And actually, as the chairperson of Equal Opportunities Commission, I'm going to work towards designing guidelines to each of the sectors, whether government or private, so that they can understand the issues.
I know you via implementation and hard work. I know that that is going to happen. You're not just trying to speak to the public, but I know that you're going to do a lot in terms of ensuring these policies are implemented. I know that Doreen here is doing a lot around albinism. I don't know, we are talking about Honourable Nalule's journey. That point is just to hear what she has been able to do, and then we go to other discussions generally on disability. What is striking your mind right now? Is there something maybe you want to add onto her journey, and then we can move on to our next topic?
Thank you so much.
But you're looking so beautiful.
She's a designer.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'm an artist by profession as well, visual artist. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm feeling so excited. Actually, I'm blessed.
Yes, you are.
Sitting close to this lady and yourself. This lady here, I'm truly moving in her footsteps.
Wow.
Not for bad, but
for good.
Yeah,
for good.
For good. She inspired me. I always used to hear about her, but the day I saw her, I met her where it was kind of a workshop at WACAU district. That's when I first kind of like got in touch with her
physically.
And I think our spirits immediately
connected.
Because she also liked me, and I felt so good because she liked me. Now I like her. I liked her intelligence, the way she was sharing. And now, to add on what she's saying, this kind of like some of this journey of being leading and also growing with a disability. That's where I want to go to emphasize.
Overcoming the barriers of disability and excelling.
This I'll always say, and she has also said it. I was admiring when she was talking about the father.
Wow.
He was long-sighted.
Very
he
supportive.
Just didn't look at the
short term.
The short term, but he knew that this lady has a future.
Yes.
That was the same with my mother.
Honourable Safia, did you have a male child? Were you the firstborn or? you know.
I think
Because that's also important, Doreen.
Yeah.
They did not just look at that disability, because usually in a family, there can be a male, and you know the male preference. Your fathers at that time would have preferred a male child. Now they have a girl who is disabled, but they focus on her.
Yes, I think I'm the fourth or fifth. Of course, they didn't look at the disability, they looked at the remaining abilities. They looked at the remaining abilities.
Yes, Doreen.
They focused on the strength. Yeah, that's it. So I was always saying that my mother, to her, when she gave birth to Doreen, it was just like any other child. Probably even the disability made her more favorable.
To favor this one.
She was looking at this child with
She's vulnerable.
Color, she's vulnerable. And sincerely, it happens that still I'm the only girl
in the family.
No, the only girl in the family. The rest are boys.
Oh,
yeah,
wow!
I'm the only girl.
Wow!
But then,
you must be the favorite.
Mommy's favorite.
Yes, mommy's best.
Yeah, despite the fact that I'm not the last born, but at least she's called Mama Doreen, and it makes the others hurt. They are boys, they are younger, but she's not called by their names, but she's called Mama Doreen. Yes. So what I was saying that the moment you know you are accepted at home, you are loved, all these other things don't matter. They don't matter.
Wow.
Yeah.
She mentioned that a person with a disability, you must be rich.
Yeah.
Now, with my kind of disability,
very expensive.
Yeah, we are so vulnerable, very sensitive skin, whereby you have to be with the hat, the sun protection creams, and on top of that, the specs for reading.
For the sun.
For the sun.
Yes.
And this commitment for her was always to take her for physiotherapy. Mine was always to explain to the teachers, she's low vision, but she's bright.
She needs to sit in front.
She needs to sit in front.
Yes.
If not, walking an extra mile for this girl to bring out the best in her.
Wow.
Because like even if you could sit maybe at the front, something still you could not see. But then she would always buy all the textbooks needed.
Wow.
So at times I would read ahead of the rest. Or when I go home, I can do homework. I remember what they taught about, then I have that textbook.
You have everything.
So
you
it's
have
the message to the parents.
Wow.
To the parents. This one I emphasize. The first thing you have to do
is to love your child.
You've given birth to this child. But there is something better that can come out of
that child.
You just be very positive with your child.
Yes.
That was it.
How was your journey at school? Did you feel that discrimination, your friends?
The discrimination, of course,
there.
Basically, no. I was blessed. Anyway, she's Nalule, and my mother is Nalule. So because maybe she's a genius. What she said is that you attract. I was bright. Much as I was low vision, but with dictation, probably even when the teacher is explaining a mathematics,
those equations, the logarithms, I don't know what.
Follow. And then
I ran away from my chemistry class.
The cosines and sines.
The valences. And I happened to be the best in chemistry.
But in English, I would be the best as well.
Yeah.
I would have my 90s there.
That was it. And because Doreen had all the textbooks, I had all the friends.
Wow. Yeah, of course, because you are attracted to the good.
Yeah, you must have something.
You must have to
give to the world.
Yes. And because you're bright, these discussion groups, you're always the leader. Someone has to come to you. Yeah, like I remember in my secondary school, there is a girl, she was coming from a very posh family. And she would always tell me that, Doreen, she could bring you the chocolates and everything so that you could explain to her. Like,
usually, those academic giants, they get the best in school.
Except the discrimination, that thing I always still hold at my heart. I don't know how my mother felt in my senior one. I was joining a school I will not mention, because now as I go on, they didn't know. There was no exposure. There was nothing. Okay, yeah, there wasn't enough sensitization at that time.
Yes, yes.
I was admitted. It was a private school, very nice. We did the interview again, despite the fact that I had a first grade.
Wow.
We had to do interviews, and I was the best.
I can suspect the school now.
During that time, during that time of the interview, I think it's the deputy who was around, and she admitted me. Now, the day of reporting, the headmistress was there. We reached at around this time, and we had paid in the bank, but our money had already been set, a refund. The headmistress said we cannot have
take
this
an
kind
albino
of child.
Oh, no.
School. She's so vulnerable. We don't have an ambulance. Even the nurse we have, she's not so conversant about their condition and the like. For me, I was young. Somehow I didn't mind. But now when I grow up, I try to put myself in her shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I should one day ask her.
Go and visit.
Whether, no, I always stay with her. I check on her almost every now and then. But now, when I try to put myself in her shoes, I don't know what she felt. Because like when we are leaving, of course now the other people or the students, of course they made that sound, found you, like, you know, she's been denied, kind of rejected. And now we had left home when everybody knew we had gone to school. So she had to take me somewhere to a close aunt, paternal aunt, Senga. And she told the other people that I've left her at school.
Wow.
And she shared with her in-law, her sister-in-law, that, you know what, but even Senga was very, very positive. She said, meanwhile, I'll look for a school for her, but let her stay here. I'll not take her back home. They'll laugh at her. Yeah, that was it. But generally, fortunately, the upstairs was okay. And even outgoing, practically, hardworking. And another thing, there is what probably Honourable will talk about it. We call it the index stigma, whereby you are overprotected, and then you're not given
a chance
to
confront those stereotypes.
Yeah. But then, after knowing very well what albinism is, yeah, you should not be exposed to the sun. Basically, only that. So they knew what I could do, the housework, even going to the garden.
Everything.
We had this little grazing cattle, so I could go to the paddocks. You cut the grass very early in the morning when you put on those overalls, gumboots, and a hat, and shades and gloves. So you come back. Actually, my grandmother liked me so much. She was saying that I was always hardworking, because by 6 I was always in the garden, knowing that by 9 I have to be out, or else the sun
is too hot.
Yeah, will catch up
wow.
with me.
We are having a very wonderful conversation.
Yes. So now, like, I'm leading women and children with albinism. It happened that, and the motto is we are changing the image. What she said, you have to be smart. You have to be outgoing, and you have to show that you have impact. You add value to society or to the community surrounding you. There, you can easily connect with people, those who believe in you, those who see opportunities in you, like through her organization, Hurweed. I managed to go and present a paper in Hyderabad.
In India.
In India. Hyderabad.
Did I know that? I was wondering where Hyderabad is.
Yeah, that is in India.
Wow.
But because she was seeing kind of my competence, commitment, like that, she felt that I could put our organization and country at the front line.
At the global level.
Yeah, at the global level. That was it. Then, now, what I was saying, that we are changing the image. As I'm here, I was teaching at Nkumba University in the art school.
Wow.
Yeah, in the art school. But then, what she was saying, presentation and the like, because the truth, this I'm saying, and it will be shared, students would come where I was teaching in the Department of Art. We had 3 degrees, BFTD, commercial arts, that is Bachelor of Fashion and Textile Design, that is one. Then we had Bachelor's in Commercial Art, that is WACAU, we used to call it WACAU, and another one with ICT. But now, you'd find that where I was in BFTD, according to the university prospectus, a student had the right to change courses in the first 2 semesters.
Yes.
You'd find that I had that power of attraction. Kind of like the students themselves would pick a leaf from you. Yeah, you would take them to the field. In case you have a function to decorate, you pick the best. And when they come back, they show their colleagues the photos where they were, those gardens where you've gone. Then others would also change courses and come and join, just because when it is time for these reports, writing the industrial training reports and the like, they feel they want you to be their supervisor. They apply, but at times you feel, much as you want the money, but you feel you won't be effective because you have to go, you reach each and every student, wherever they are, what they are doing, you give a report. And you find that some are missing out. So those who could come early, so it's all about being impactful. And if it wasn't for COVID, still it was her hand. I always used to disturb her so much when I got access. I was trying out so much too, as she had the passion for the children with disability, what she saw. I also used to wonder, because like they would ask, one time some parent who was so kind of like, their firstborn, they got with albinism. She's a grown-up girl now. But now, when I was moving in a supermarket, they used to work in a supermarket. Even me, that was my first time to see a baby with albinism. I used to, of course, at first I thought they were selling a doll. Then I was wondering,
you looked closer.
Yeah, I looked closer. It was moving. I thought maybe they'd put batteries.
Oh, no.
But then it was a real baby. I was so excited. I carried the baby. So I encouraged them. They looked. I started shopping there because of that baby supporting. But now one time, I used to have my side work. I had a small shop. In that very shop, it was a boutique for decoration, everything, that kind of stuff. But then I was marking papers.
And making papers as well.
I was marking papers because it was weekend. So I'd come with some papers I was marking. I was making course outlines and the like. So the lady passed with that baby. She said, "Oh, auntie, you work here?" I told her, "Yeah." "Hey, you mean you're a teacher?" I told her I'm a teacher. She got a seat. We were chatting a bit. But then meanwhile, she looked at the question papers and said, "But now, what's this you're doing?" I told her that now this is whatever assignment, a course for degree 2, year 2. She said, you mean, what do you mean?" I told her that these are their courseworks. Now I'm trying to compile their maths. She said, "But a degree, that's a university." I told her that, yeah, because I told her I work with Nkumba. Then she said, she really asked that, "You mean this baby has brains to go to class?" She was coming there.
Can you imagine?
So interesting.
I think this discussion is so interesting.
Yes. She was
There's a lot that we do not know.
So then, that's when I came. Our motto is, we are changing the image.
Yes.
So I say that, you know, guys, we are society rejects. First of all, for us, our disability, there are so many myths
around these issues.
Around us, albinism, actually. You just know that I'll be here by the end of that show, because maybe some were wondering we shall see her disappearing. No, it's not.
I think you are speaking to a country now. Uganda is more acceptable now. In Tanzania, I'm told it is still that is the myth you're talking about.
They're picking that bad leaf.
Yes,
some are picking that bad leaf because some of our parents now are like the children. I have children in my custody in the organization. Yeah, they have risked being sacrificed like several times. Actually, the mother has become a destitute. She has worked so hard towards her
protecting this child, keeping them away from the public. Being
one
kidnapped
day at a time. Yeah, we are trying.
Actually, we got them when they were going to be taken to Kisumu.
Wow.
Overboard,
Overboard.
Yes.
Okay, ladies, you have done so well in our first segment because we have just tried to expose our journeys to the world, to know the things that we do at individual level, at organizational level, in these spaces that we occupy as leaders. So disability is not inability, ideally. From what you have discussed generally, you've overcome so many barriers and stereotypes and challenges to reach where you are. I would like now us to go to another segment, but maybe we want to call for a small break and then we shall return because there is another issue that I want us to discuss further. And I will just go for a break. We are discussing issues of disability in the women's movement, in the disability movement in Uganda, in East Africa, in the Great Lakes. And the discussion is very interesting, and the women that I have hosted here are superpowers in that area. I would like to thank you for being with us this far. When we return, we're going to another deeper discussion of these issues. Thank you. Welcome back, our dear viewer, wherever you are watching us from. This is the Women at the Frontline chat show, and we are having a conversation around issues of disability and the movement of disability here in Uganda, in the Great Lakes and across the region. And we have been joined by very able women, Honourable Safia Nalule, who is our chief guest today, and of course Doreen here. We went to a break when we were discussing issues of myths and misconceptions challenging persons with disability, things that the public doesn't understand about persons with disability. And also we've heard from the initial discussion the abilities that are embedded in persons with disability. And if the parents raise these children well, and if they are supported by community, and the policies of our country support them very well, their fullest potential is brought out. And today we are honored to celebrate such women who have excelled as women with disability in their lives and impacted the world wherever they are in their various ways. So inability, or disability rather, is not an inability. And we have seen that from the life of Honourable Safia, who is now the chairperson of the Equal Opportunities Commission right now. Victor there is leading a very powerful organization, Tunaweza. Doreen here is also doing advocacy for persons with disability at her level, and they're impacting lives. These are actually products of the work that Honourable Safia and her team and her age group was able to contribute to. And now we have another generation of other women leaders here. So we are delighted that you are still with us here. You've joined us today. And I would like Doreen just to talk a little more on those myths and conception in a few minutes, and then we can move on to something else. What are some of these things that we do not know? Today I'm here with you as an albino. So many things that I did not know. The feeling that an albino can disappear and appear and is a ghost of some sort. Yes, what other things don't we know?
Yes, other things with albinism,
Yes.
it's believed that our bodies or body parts, they believe that we are kind of like maybe gods and goddesses.
Wealth makers.
Yeah, wealth makers, and even our body parts maybe we do possess some magic.
Wow.
We can pass on magic powers. So someone believes that marrying a person with albinism, even if you don't work, probably money will automatically just come in. So we find that so many women are there mothering children from different men, because each one came to try his chance of getting wealth, and then nothing in return, and then even others are just massacred for that matter. And now generally there are these kind of like myths or misconceptions that like some disabilities probably are contagious, they are passed on.
They are genetic.
Apart from albinism, which is genetic, but some people believe that a person who is physically handicapped will still bring out someone with a physical handicap. They have that feeling that a person who has a disability probably they understand probably even the brain. If they look at someone who has a visual impairment, they think that probably that person cannot even hear or cannot do anything.
Wow.
At times even they are not given their rights, like in the family.
Yes.
You really see someone, like maybe they brought forth a person with a disability, probably it's like a curse. Some can even start
There's a feeling that they should not get married, they cannot give birth.
They cannot give birth.
They don't go into menstruation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of those?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that like in families, in case they're budgeting for girl children, maybe in case they are going to school or what, like this one is not considered like buying the necessities like sanitary towels and the like, as if for her she's not a human. She hasn't got those characteristics of a woman, you know, not going, getting their periods. Probably she'll not excel in class.
Wow.
Cannot marry, because if you marry a person with a disability, how will that one now lift a pot and put it on fire? Not knowing that God gives probably, especially, there is a strength.
Everyone does have.
Yeah, there is a strength everyone does have, which people just have to find out and accept and probably bring up that person.
Okay, thank you so much, Doreen. I think you are hearing there's a lot of things that we do not know about persons with disability, and this discussion is very important. This is not the last, Honorable. I know that I will invite another person with disabilities here. Maybe we'll discuss some other issues. You'll recommend the areas of discussion. But for now, I would like you to take your discussion to the region. What is your feeling? Because in Uganda, we think that a lot has happened in terms of enhancing or inclusion for persons with disability in the mainstream. A lot is still happening, and that you've tried also to do a lot at your organizational level, individual level. Now, how do you feel the Great Lakes region is faring in this goal of inclusion in the Great Lakes? Are we moving? Is Uganda isolated in this discussion? Are the other countries moving in that direction in terms of achievement of not leaving anyone behind, particularly not leaving the disabled behind in the region?
You know, one time when I was reading books on evolution of human rights, I came across one book called the Last Civil Rights Movement.
Wow.
Yeah, the Last Civil Rights Movement was talking about that time, you know, when, you know, the women came and demanded their rights, the workers, the whatever, the migrants.
The migrants.
But then at some point, also persons with disabilities came and demanded for their rights.
And rights evolved.
Yeah,
yes.
Actually in America, in the US, they used even to tie, because they were talking and then nobody was almost listening, and then they used to tie their wheelchairs on trains or on so, you know, they got hurt and whatever, but it was a real struggle.
Wow.
Now, what I can say about the East African region, sincerely speaking, there was a time for me, by the time I left university, people with disabilities were in arms to actually to fight for recognition, to fight for their rights. But why you see like Uganda excelling, I told you it was because basically the positive response from the government and from the head of government. I'm telling you, I'm saying this, it's not because, you know, he's my president, but the presidents of our region and beyond in
starts
Africa,
from there.
President Museveni, people should come and learn from him, because as I told you, he treasured affirmative action in the very early stages as he came to govern this country. So basically, what I can say for the region, there are things which we have now in common, like with the constitutions. Most of them have actually learned from Uganda's constitution, and they have provided for representation of persons with disabilities. It's just the mode of getting the leaders is a bit different. In some of the countries, it is a direct election. Like from us in Uganda, we elect our representatives right from the local government up to the national level. And there are also special appointments. Like, you know, I know in Kenya, there was a lady who was actually appointed to head something like the Chamber of Commerce. She was moving in a wheelchair. Here in Uganda, of course, like me, I'm appointed to be the chairperson of the Equal Opportunities Commission. In South Africa, they also do have those appointments, and Kenya and Tanzania, they appoint, the political parties appoint persons with disabilities represent. Yes. I think in Burundi and Rwanda, we also have that representation. And they have national mechanisms, the national councils for persons with disabilities. Yeah. So basically, and for Rwanda, I think when it comes to representation in the East African community, for them they even have a slot for persons with disabilities, which we don't have here. Yeah. So there are things which are here, which are there, which we can learn from. So do you think there is still more that non-state actors yourselves can do? That's what I wanted to say, is because when you go actually and read about the provisions for participation of persons with disabilities in governance, I think you can find a lot. But when it comes to implementation, we still have a problem. That's why I told you that for me, when I reached, the top decision-making level of Parliament, that's why I came up with this idea of the Certificate of Gender and Equity Compliance, requiring governments to allocate budgets to implement, to implement the needs of persons with disabilities. And now what I can say, that what can be like should be done. What more needs to be done? More needs to be done, both by the state, the public, and then the private. Let me tell you, what should be done is actually provided for in the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Article 4 of the UN Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities provides for state obligations. Wow. What the state should do to ensure that persons with disabilities enjoy their human rights, and what kind of work, both administrative and the legislative, the nations have to do to ensure that. But I can say that when you look at the population of persons with disabilities, first and foremost, we need to be to know who are persons with disabilities. Who are they? We have 1 billion in the world. Because, in Uganda, we have 4 million Ugandans. Because like in Uganda, at some point we had a challenge when it came to the election of representatives. Even people with balded hair, those ones who claimed that they are important, and now there is no one to check you whether you're really important. Okay. There's the first and foremost, the definition of a person with disability has to be understood. Yes, exactly. Then I would like to tell the whole world that it's very disastrous to ignore a population, the biggest minority group, 1 billion plus persons with disabilities. Out of 7 billion in the world. Out of the 7 billion. 7.8. We are a critical mass, which need not to be ignored. Because now when we are ignored, we remain a consumptive lot. Yes. And yet we need to get into the productive lot. Then the other thing I want to say is that if you want persons with disabilities to participate, still there is need for affirmative action. Because you can see that if there is no affirmative action yet there are things which we cannot openly compete for. And also, even if it is headhunting, if it is headhunting, we must not just say that there is a person with disability sitting on this board. You must get people who are knowledgeable, who are passionate, who are hardworking, and who can actually be representatives. Then the other thing is very important. I normally say in the Equal Opportunities Commission that people will not even understand the work of the Equal Opportunities Commission because issues of marginalized persons lie in the details. Unless you take off time to understand, you need to know that, to me, to climb one step up is very difficult. So there's need to remove the barriers. Then there is also need to document and celebrate the achievements we have made in development. Like now, if I say that I've beaten all odds and then use the affirmative action in Uganda to go to Parliament, and when I reached Parliament, I just didn't sit, and I came up with an innovation which is the first of its kind in the whole world, to chew an implementation of written stuff. That is, I'm talking about the Certificate of Gender and Equity Compliance. I think that one needs to be celebrated, that needs to be documented so that other people can learn from this experience. And this morning I was thinking that when I thought about the amount of energy I put in to get the certificate of gender and equity compliance, put in the Public Finance Management Act, then when I see people who don't want to even talk about my name, when, for example, when we are quoting history, we can say Martin Luther King said this, Socrates.
Even here in Uganda.
Even here in Uganda, so and did this. But when it comes to Safia, because she's disabled, everyone will just, like to keep her aside, so that, it should be other people to be said that they innovated the certificate of gender and equity compliance. Then I thought that, when I look at philosophy, philosophy is indeed the body of knowledge. So maybe we are now the current philosophers
of our time.
Of our time.
Because we are producing knowledge.
Because we are producing knowledge.
Okay.
Knowledge which is not short term but long term.
It will live beyond
it will live beyond our whatever.
That is why you get a doctorate of philosophy.
Yes.
Because knowledge lives on beyond you.
Beyond your time.
So are you pursuing any objectives in that direction?
Now with academics,
of a doctorate academically.
No, with academics, I think I'm going to stop at the master's degree. But now, lastly, I would like to say that if you really have goodwill to implement the concerns of marginalized persons like the person with disabilities, there must always be a budget.
There must always be a
budget.
Let
it be at national level, let it be at international level. And with the international level, there must be, when, for example, they are working with these bilateral agreements and so on, there must be a conditioned part of those funds
going to specifically handle issues of disability.
Handle issues of person with disability. Yes, otherwise, people, in the name of mainstreaming, in the name of, inclusion,
everything is lumped up there.
Yeah, will be lumped up, and then, it gets lost. So, as the saying goes, nothing for us without us. People with disabilities always need to be at the decision-making table.
Yes. That's why we are saying women at the front lines. We must have women with disabilities speaking about their experiences and inspiring other women to come and do this work. But this is a space for women. I would like Victor to talk a little more of what we are doing as women with disabilities to inspire more women, to bring more, because they say the success of a leader is seen from the other leaders that you have multiplied. The numbers of women like yourself you have multiplied beyond you. That is a sign that you have succeeded in your leadership journey. I would like to know from you ladies what is happening in the women's movement of disability. Is there more work we are doing in terms of getting more victors? Maybe you can respond. Since you are an alumni of the Mandela Leaders Institute, I think there's a lot of work in terms of mentoring other women.
That is very true. You've talked about the Mandela Washington. If you can give me just like a minute to just talk about my experience there. I was at the University of Nebraska, and we were given this task of speaking on behalf of the university and the DC.
Wow!
And it was a competition basically. So professors came and everyone had to come and talk about their story. I remember we had South Africans, Nigerians, they're very competitive in the African space. And so we went on that competition space, obviously. And to make the story short, I was shortlisted to represent the country.
Wow, Uganda.
Yeah, Uganda. Not because of my disability. I think I want to bring out what Honourable was talking about. It's not about the disability, but the knowledge,
that you
our presentation we have out there. So I remember getting there, and still even in the DC, I was one of the outstanding that Voice of America spotted me still to talk about my country. What does that entails really as a woman with disability? So in the space of women with disabilities, we are doing a lot on individual basis to develop ourselves as person living disability. Personally.
You must grow as a leader.
Yes.
You must read, you must grow yourself.
Yes. My mentor, I have a mentor, he's an Indian, he's called Patel Arun, and he has written a book called Pull You Out of My Way. And for him, to be someone in the wheelchair is nothing. He always tell me, no, I don't want you to start talking about you bring your disability at the front. And that's what most of the person living disability we have. That the first thing I bring on the front is
your disability.
My disability. Or because I'm this, that's why I'm not married.
Or because I'm a woman.
Because I'm ABC and
Okay.
I'm not getting this kind of a job. I've been working with women for the past 13 years and I've been excelling. This is a public knowledge. You can go and Google me, or you can go to the company and to the HR and ask about Victo. I'm always among the excelling
workers,
yes.
employees.
Not because of my
and
disability.
you are in the mainstream corporate,
institution. Yes. So it's not about the disability to come first. But it's about what you can offer. What can you offer to the table? Under my organization, we are basically trying to create champions with disabilities. We are into a mentorship kind of a journey whereby we are employing younger students, young people, the women, the boys with disability, who are like, we are trying to bring them on board, work with them, and try to see, can they do internship? They are doing a lot of volunteering with our organization. But as we are with them working in the journey, we are trying to develop their competence, because they have to be, most of them, they come and they feel like it is their disability first. But at the end of it, by the time they are leaving the organization, they know they can do ABC. I always challenge, especially those one who are at the university, and so for example, we go to the field, and someone knows I'm going to just keep quiet and not say anything. And after my speech, I always say, can you come and talk about something? And they, okay, I have to say, why am I doing that to the young generation? I'm still young still. But what I'm doing to my fellow youth is that I want you to be empowered.
Yes.
Because if a person with disability is empowered, they will succeed in life, and they will change the narrative, but not the narrative, but then also changing the attitude of the community.
Public. Yes.
So when people see you succeeding in what you're doing and you're excelling, they will change the narrative that the other person, if Vicky lives with Umeme, another person coming to ask for employment, they will employ that person. So I'm not there because of myself. I'm there because others are coming.
So you are influencing or inspiring indirectly. Your role modeling to other people.
Yes. That after you see as Honourable Nalule, she left the parliament, but she has inspired many during their coming. You understand? That's what we are talking about, and that's what we are doing as all leaders on the ground.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is why we are here. We are hoping that through this space we can inspire many women to come at the front. I think that we are coming to the end of the show, but there's a lot that we haven't covered. I know Honourable Safia, maybe you'll make a recommendation later on, but you can make some last comments if we have left out something that you wanted us to cover in the discussion.
For me, actually, I would like to call upon two people. I would like to first of all call upon, actually thank His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda. You know, Monica, you have been in Parliament, but he has never, let me say, he has supported affirmative action. Let him continue supporting affirmative action, because as I've said, it's very dangerous to leave out the big population of the people. And I would also like to call upon the United Nations. The United Nations, as we speak, like every, like when we had the law on women, the Convention on Women, the Convention on the Child, they are UN agencies to oversee the implementation of the provisions of those international laws. But for us, I think as we stand now, it's the UN human rights, which actually is like caretaking the implementation of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Can the United Nations come up with an agency like UNICEF, like UN Women,
for disability?
For disability. Yes.
That's very powerful.
Yes.
I would like these women, my friends here, to wind up, these great women, by just giving us a few of their hopes for the women with a disability, but also for our countries. What are some of your hopes? What do you desire to see in the future? What else has not happened in the women's movement of disability that we can still aspire, hope for, and pray that it happens. Your hopes and aspirations, ladies, as we wind up.
Yes.
Maybe I start with Doreen here.
As we wind up, thank you so much.
In 2 minutes.
Yeah, in 2 minutes, just the hopes. This motto of ours in Women and Children is genuine. We are changing the image. So the hopes, I'm trying, what I have is people stop looking at us as society reject. But when we add value, when we impact society, so that we attract, we are accepted. Just as I'm trying to say, I'm looking at it, the hope is that we are treated generally, we are employed in various sectors. We are not marginalized, not looking at our weaknesses but strengths. I want to summarize by saying that what I didn't say, we as an organization, we've already created a brand. For those who didn't manage to go to school, we're changing the image. We've created jobs, employing women with albinism. And for the children, we are trying to lobby the children that they go to school. If it wasn't for COVID, this year, Honourable Safia, you are going to, how should I call it, to provide on a graduation of 7 graduates, girls with albinism.
At university.
We are going to wait.
What? An engineer, accountant, a pharmacist,
a social worker.
Wow.
By the way, she became the Ep.5 Councillor, PWDs, that is Lydia.
Wow.
Thank you, Lydia.
And of course, you remember Honourable Safia in Parliament, we're advocating for free creams and lotions for people with albinism in Uganda to be provided at the health centers. I think that one you didn't talk about, but it's a work in progress. I think the team we've left there will pursue that to ensure that it happens. Like any other medical service, it should be provided for. Honourable Victor, maybe, and then I wind up with Honourable Safia here.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Something I want to wind up with. I have a pen here. I always try to use some instrument when I'm ending my talk. This pen, it seems to be full. It can write, but when it is disabled, as people, totally. And maybe even this, I won't be able to remove, but if this thing comes out, it can't write, isn't it? And this is what they call disabled. It's a disabled pen. It can't write, isn't it?
Yes.
And in this talk we talk about people with disabilities, disabled. You've heard about all this, you know. But when this pen is put together, it can write, isn't it?
Yes.
And it can perform better
when it's put together.
Yeah, just like you've seen the story behind our main speaker, the Honourable Nalule, she has walked and she has the journey and she has managed to succeed against all the challenges around.
All odds, against all barriers, against all stereotypes and misconceptions.
Not because of this. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about opportunities. As Tunaweza Foundation, we are into a business of inclusiveness for people with disability. If I'm included and I'm given education, and if I'm given accessibility, and if given an opportunity to work, I won't be someone with disability, for God's sake.
Barriers gone.
The barriers are totally broken down.
I can now finally do what? Right.
Wow.
I'm trying to figure out to get back to my pen. But I can now finally do what? Do the writing very well.
Effectively.
And I can perform any work you're giving me.
Wow.
Not because of my disability. As we are talking about. But because I'm given that opportunity to do what? To do the work.
Wow.
Thank you.
That is so interesting, and I don't want to bring an end to this discussion, but we have to come to an end, and I will allow our main guest today, Honourable Safia, to wind up with 1 or 2 comments, her hopes, her inspiration, her message to someone out there watching for today.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to say that it's very expensive to live with a disability. Then it becomes double and triple when you are poor, when you are not educated, when you are unhealthy. Very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
So I would like to call upon my government and all governments to actually think about economic empowerment of persons with disabilities, educating persons with disabilities, providing health to persons with disabilities. I would like to ask government to actually continue to support the Equal Opportunities Commission.
Yes.
And to those other nations out there which don't have such institutions, kindly come up with institutions like the Equal Opportunities Commission so
like
that everybody is given equal opportunities to participate and benefit.
Wow. Leaving no one behind, that has been the message of these great ladies that have had the honor to host this afternoon. I hope you have enjoyed this discussion on disability and its attendant issues in Uganda here, and of course the Great Lakes region. I know we shall come back here on another day with something else. In terms of implementation, I think there's still a gap, and it has seriously been highlighted. And of course, a call to the other nations in the Great Lakes that do not have similar interventions as are happening in those progressive countries such as Uganda to put in place such institutions for the good of the people that we have in our community that are challenged, but yet have a great potential when given opportunity. This is Women at the Front Lines, and we are signing off today, but we are saying we shouldn't leave anyone behind. And yes, women can lead. And when given an opportunity to lead, women with disability can lead wherever they are. I hope you are inspired. Any young person out there, woman, anybody who is aspiring to be a leader in whichever space you are in, this is the place to be inspired by listening to other people's stories about their work, their leadership, their journeys. We have had good audience from you. I would like to thank you. I would also like to thank our host here today, Arch Apartments. We are at Arch Apartments. They've hosted us very well. Thank you, Civic Space TV, for giving us this opportunity to be here as women leaders discussing various issues. Would also like to thank the various organizations represented here today, WACAU, Tunaweza, and of course, Equal Opportunities Commission, as well as the Great Lakes Institute of Strategic Studies, a think tank in which we think about issues that affect the region at large, as well as Center for Constitutional Governance here in Uganda, a sponsor of this kind of civic engagement with the population. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been Monicah Amoding, together with my guests here. Want to sign out for today. See you next weekend. Shalom.